He's the man in charge of Kentucky's second largest police department, and he's been on the job as chief for nearly 3 years. I had a candid conversation with Chief Lawrence Weathers about policing, the pandemic, and protests.
So how would you describe the past 12 months for you professionally as chief of the Lexington Police Department, but also personally, what has it been like for you?
Professionally, it's been a challenge. You get pulled in several different directions, so maintaining focus is is what's probably been the most difficult. The pandemic truly got your attention, and then the protests came, and it surpassed that. But in all of that, while I'm focusing on all the things associated with COVID-19 and making sure my people are protected and making sure they're following the guidelines that they need to follow, we also had to deal with these large amounts of demands that were being placed on us to change. And while we're trying to maintain one thing and trying to answer the response or respond to the questions that we're getting and answer them and do the right thing that the people are asking of us, we still have crime going on, and we still have to deal with that. So maintaining the proper focus is one of the most challenging things professionally. Personally, dealing with all of this and not neglecting your family, not neglecting yourself is a big challenge as well. This is one of those jobs where you take it home with you, whether you want to or not. And at some point in time, you know, you've got to be able to turn it off, and you've got to be able to focus on what's truly important. And what's truly important is your family and your health. So those are the biggest challenges, at least for me.
You mentioned the Black Lives Matter protests. How would you grade your department's handling of those?
Keep in mind, I might be a little biased, but I'd have to give us an A+ on that. Looking around the country and how some of it went, there's no playbook for anything like that. Officers may be used to standing out on the line during a protest and holding that line, but some of them were being exposed to things that they've never heard, never seen, and you can't train anybody for that. You can't prepare anybody for that. The things that we talked about was telling officers you need to be patient, you need to be tolerant, and you need to be disciplined. And that's what we focused on. And then we reiterated our core values. We're here for customer service. We're here for employee satisfaction, efficiency, leadership, and partnerships. And that's what we focused on, especially during the protest. We didn't tell officers they couldn't interact or couldn't talk to the protesters. That's part of their job. But you have to maintain control. And I have to say, our officers, our supervisors, our leaders did exactly that. They led. They led by example, and they instilled confidence so that our employees and our officers could have the discipline to be able to do the job that they needed to do and maintain our core values.
What changes, if any, have you made in terms of the concerns raised by the protesters? We also saw concerns raised by Black faith leaders. What is the police department doing to try to address those?
Well, it's several things. One of the things they talked about is not every officer had body cameras. When we first developed the policy for body cameras, we had different people from the community sitting in, and it was decided then that not everybody needed it, especially some of the people working administrative assignments. Well, lo and behold, some of those people working administrative assignments sometimes were put into operational or law enforcement assignments. Seeing that and listening to the calls for all officers to have body cameras, including myself, we decided, that's not a bad idea. So that stuff costs money, but it's an investment that the community wanted us to make, and we wanted to make. So we made that happen. Another thing that they were calling for was transparency, and as much transparency as we can give. We decided that let's see how much we can do and how much better we can make it. So we started changing our web page and putting more information on that. We started providing more information to the city council about some of our disciplinary things, and that's all part of it. And those were all part of the demands. What we found out during all of this was that a lot of people didn't actually know what we were doing, didn't actually know what our policies were. So we made sure all of our pertinent policies that we could, we placed on our webpage so people could have access to them. As much as we could during the pandemic, we opened up our police department to people who had questions about what we do and wanted to learn how or know how we did things. So we opened that up. So it's brought a lot of changes, and there's probably still a lot more to come. But what I tell everybody is there's people on both sides, and everybody has wants, everybody has demands, but we got to sit down at some point and talk about the things we can do, the things we can't do, and maybe try to figure out a compromise.
Hear more from Chief Weathers tomorrow on Best of the Bluegrass as he talks about the state of race relations in Lexington and his plans for the police department.